Discover the miraculous divine transformations in Deuteronomy. 40 sacred lessons revealed. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, prophet Jeremiah proclaimed the words of Yahweh to a people consumed with fear, as the Israelites, once enslaved and lost, stood on the very doorstep of their long-awaited inheritance. With a tumultuous history of trials and triumphs behind them, they gazed across the Jordan River at the land promised to their forefathers, a land flowing with milk and honey, yet their hearts trembled with uncertainty. Under the leadership of Moses, now a sage figure seasoned by hardship and divine encounters, they camped on the plains of Moab. Caught between the promise of God and the giants that loomed ahead, the air crackled with anticipation and apprehension. As Moses called the gathered multitude closer, his aged yet resolute form silhouetted against the dimming sun. "Remember the mighty works of God," he cried out, his voice like a trumpet piercing through the whispers of doubt scattered among the tribes. "Do not forget how the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt, leading you through the wilderness and feeding you with manna, sustenance from heaven." As Moses recounted the miraculous plagues that had broken their chains, the parting of the Red Sea, and the life-giving water from the rock, hearts began to lift, rekindled by the fire of their shared memory. Yet the weight of fear still hung over them. What if they failed this time? Could they truly possess the land that was rightfully theirs? Choose life. Choose to love Yahweh with all your heart, soul, and strength. Moses' voice reverberated in the stillness, stirring the souls of men and women who had wandered through the wilderness longer than most could remember, learning and stumbling in their faith. As Caleb, his stature strong amidst the crowd, raised his voice, "We can go up and take the land," a flicker of courage ignited within the assembly. Yet still, doubt clawed at the hearts of many. "We will be crushed by them," they murmured, recalling the spies who had returned with fearsome tales of giants in fortified cities. The doubts swirled around them as a hot desert wind stirs the dusty earth, wrapping around their faith like shrouds. Moses, ever perceptive to their trepidation, confronted their fears with unwavering resolve. "What are these giants compared to the might of our God?" he exclaimed, his voice rising above the tumult, echoing the covenant promises that had been spoken over them. "Have you forgotten? Our God has gone before us like a consuming fire." His fervent words reverberated through the camp, calling forth their collective memory of divine deliverance. As the wind changed, dark clouds began to gather ominously above the heights they were to approach, mirroring the turmoil within their hearts. Tension thickened. Obeying would mean stepping boldly into the inheritance promised by Almighty God, yet disobedience could sever the thread of blessing that lay before them. "Today, I set before you a blessing and a curse," Moses declared, a solemnity enveloping him as he spoke. "Choose, that you may live." As a tense silence swept through the encampment, the weight of their decision loomed heavy, leaving the people grappling with their faith and the choice they must make. The storm brewed in the sky, just as the uncertainty brewed in their hearts. God's promise of transformation beckoned them to step forward into the unknown, yet the path required courage and trust. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did. Next, in the encampment, hearts were laid bare before God, teetering on the precipice of destiny, the promise of a new beginning hanging tantalizingly before them. With each passing moment, the choices made that day would echo throughout generations, etching the path of faith, doubt, and ultimately, the unfathomable grace of God's enduring covenant. What would they decide? Would they take hold of the promise or retreat into fear? The horizon darkened, the air thickened with palpable expectancy, leaving all to ponder the divine resolution that awaited them just beyond the banks of the Jordan. And it came to pass that the silence was broken by the soft sound of footsteps approaching Moses. It was Aaron, his faithful brother, whose heart echoed with determination. "Moses," he said, "the Lord our God is with us. We cannot turn back to Egypt. nor can we let fear overcome us. Let us rise up with strength and claim our inheritance." As Aaron's voice rang clear among the multitude, a spark ignited in the hearts of some, stirring their spirits from within. However, doubt clung to many like shadows to the evening light. The murmurs of worry resurfaced among the people, speaking of the fortified cities and fearsome giants that stood as barriers to their promise. Yet, Caleb shouted once more, rising as a beacon of courage, "We must go forth. The Lord has promised us the victory. He has said, 'I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you.'" His eyes shone with divine hope, and the fervent words he spoke met the yearning hearts of those willing to believe. Moses, observing the division within the ranks, knew that their collective faith held the power to sway the tide of destiny. "Hear me, children of Israel," he called out, his voice full of authority. "Let not your hearts be troubled. Our God is with us, as he was with our forefathers. When we tread upon the ground of Canaan, we shall be as giants against any foe, for it is he who fights for us." As dusk began to settle over the plains, the Almighty's presence enveloped them like a warm embrace, whispering promises of peace amidst their turmoil. The sun cast its final rays, a golden glow illuminating the faces of those who remained uncertain yet longing for adventure. "Who among you will trust in the Lord?" Moses implored. "Let us send forth a chosen few, brave souls who will spy the land and bear witness to what awaits us." This proposal stirred the restless hearts anew. His gaze fell upon 12 men of renown, one from each tribe. They would be the eyes and ears of the nation, entrusted to witness the land flowing with milk and honey. Thus, they set out, each carrying hope, yet burdened with the weight of expectation. The journey to scout the land was fraught with uncertainty, as they traversed valleys and scaled mountains, and the promise hung tantalizingly out of reach. Upon their return, the air thickened with anticipation. "We came to the land where you sent us," they began, their voices mingling excitement with trepidation. "It is indeed a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey." But their report soon twined with fear as they spoke of the giants, the fortified cities, and the great challenges that awaited them. As the fears began to grip the hearts of the Israelites anew, Caleb attempted to quell the murmur of despair. "We must go up at once and take possession of it. We are well able to overcome it." His brave proclamation shone bright against the dimming faith of many. Yet, the other men could not see beyond the giants. "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we." They trembled, detailing the land's inhabitants as though the very fingers of doubt clawed at their resolve. With the weight of their words, fear descended upon the assembly like a heavy cloud. But amidst the despair, the Spirit of the Lord stirred in Caleb and Joshua. "If the Lord delights in us," they cried, "he will bring us into this land. Do not rebel against the Lord." As night fell, the camp grew restless, an orchestra of fear and faith clashing in an epic struggle. And deep within the heart of God, a glorious design was unfolding, a plan that would echo throughout eternity. What would become of the chosen people now laid low by doubt? Would they rise in faith or falter in fear? The answer lay in the very heart of God's sovereign will, poised to reveal a divine intervention that could alter the course of human destiny forever. And it came to pass, in the still of the night, that the hearts of the children of Israel were troubled, and their voices rose in lamentation. "Are we to fall by the sword? Shall our children know the wilderness rather than the land of promise?" They cried, shaking their fists towards the heavens, as anguish consumed their spirits. Moses, feeling the weight of their despair, lifted his hands in prayer. In his grief, he sought the Lord, and the voice of God broke through the shadows of doubt. "You are a stubborn and rebellious people," the Lord spoke, his words echoing from the mountaintops. "Yet I am a God slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. Tomorrow, you shall receive a sign of my promise." Caleb and Joshua, filled with the spirit of courage, sought to rally the people. They stepped among the wavering crowd, eyes ablaze with divine conviction. "Fear not. The giants are but shadows before the might of our God. His hand is stretched out to deliver us," they proclaimed, their voices rising above the cacophony of uncertainty. But the multitude remained obstinate, whispering against the ones who bore good tidings. It is a death sentence to go against fortified walls. We shall not prevail. Thus, their words twisted like thorns in the hearts of the faithful. With clenched fists, Moses turned to the assembly. How long will you doubt his faithfulness? Shall our fears bind us, while the Lord goes before us? Remember the miracles performed in the sight of Pharaoh, how the waters parted, how he delivered us from bondage. As the dawn light began to pierce the darkness, a hush fell over the people. The weight of 1,000 doubts lingered, yet the air stirred with an unquenchable hope. Moses raised his voice supernaturally strong. This day, do not forget the Lord your God. Let each of you take a lamb, pure and unblemished, and surround your homes. For the Lord shall pass over us, and we will be shielded from destruction. At the command of Moses, the people gathered with trembling hands. Yet there was a flicker of resolve in the elders and families as they prepared their offerings. They sacrificed, reminded that their covenant with the Almighty was not a burden but a blessing. And as the sun ascended, a strange stillness enveloped the camp. In that moment, the Lord spoke to Moses once more. Gather the people, set them in order, for I shall show them my power today. Moses obeyed, his heart swelling with reverence. And he summoned the congregation together, standing outside their tents with the lambs set aside. Suddenly, a fire ignited from the heavens, encircling the tent of meeting where Moses sought communion with God. A bolt of divine presence radiated down, and the people fell to their faces in awe. Behold the glory of the Lord! Moses cried, his voice echoing through the land. As the fire illuminated the faces of the Israelites, lightning coursed through the clouds overhead, revealing chariots of fire preparing for battle. The land they sought began to resonate with presence, and the giants they feared appeared but as mere mortals before the Lord. With hearts revived by the spectacle of divine confirmation, the Israelites understood the battle was not theirs, but the Lord's. His ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts, said Moses, filled with conviction, knowing that the path before them was set firmly in God's sovereign will. The people began to rise. Their faith rekindled like a burning flame. The heavens echoed with an ancient promise. In faith, you shall possess the land I have granted to you. Yet hidden within this promise was a deeper truth. The fullness of God's purpose was yet to unfold, a masterpiece prepared before the foundations of the earth. Would they now walk in faith, unafraid? Would they listen to the Lord's voice, or turn back in fear once more? The answer awaited them in the will of God, a revelation that could forever alter the course of generations to come. As the dawn broke fully over the encampment, a palpable tension filled the air, for the people of Israel stood on the brink of something monumental. The fire that had descended from the heavens flickered, casting shadows upon the faces of the anxious multitude, illuminating both their fears and their hopes. The cries of the night lingered like echoes in their ears, yet the promise of deliverance held them in a firm grip. Moses, his spirit strengthened by the sublime presence of God, beckoned the people. Hear, O Israel! This day, the Lord your God commands you to take a step into the waters of your fears. Bring forth your lambs, and prepare your hearts to trust in his great power. For I tell you, deliverance is at hand. A moment of silence enveloped them, uncertainty like a shroud. But in the hearts of some, Caleb and Joshua stirred their encouragement, urging, let us look not at our circumstances, but at the greatness of our God. With him, all things are possible. Their words, like arrows of faith, struck the listening crowd, igniting a flicker of bravery against the backdrop of their doubts. And lo, as they began to gather their offerings and prepare their hearts, the Lord spoke again to Moses. In this hour, I call forth signs from the heavens. I will deliver my people from their bondage, and they shall see my hand moving mightily among them. Then Moses turned to the people. With a strong hand, the Lord shall part the waters before you, and you will pass through unscathed. The enemy you see today, you shall see no more. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. As he finished speaking, a great wind began to swirl around them, and amidst the sound, the Lord's voice emerged. You stand at the crossroads of promise and despair. Choose this day whom you will serve. Will you cling to fear, or will you walk boldly into the land I have vowed to give? In that moment, the clouds parted, and a radiant beam of light shone down upon the altar where the lambs lay. The air was electric with anticipation, and the firmament seemed to hold its breath, awaiting their response. And as the people collectively inhaled the promise of the Lord, a resounding agreement arose. We will go forth. We will believe and trust in Yahweh. Then a great rumble reverberated through the land, and the ground trembled. It was as if creation itself awaited the unfolding of his plan. The hearts of the people raced, for the atmosphere crackled with divine intent. The chariots of fire above them surged forward, a testament to the might of heaven's armies preparing for the conflict that lay ahead. In that sacred moment, Moses looked skyward, his face radiant with faith, and said, "The Lord has promised to deliver us. Let us not shy away from the giants, but face them with confidence, for our God is with us. Let the world witness his glory through us." And there, at the edge of their journey, with their faith standing as a shield, fear began to melt away, replaced by an unwavering resolve. They understood that to forsake goodness in pursuit of the familiar would lead them back to bondage. They were no longer slaves, but heirs of a promise. Yet, deeper revelations were swirling within God's heart, mysteries yet to be unveiled, a destiny that would echo through the ages, binding generations with threads of faith. What intricate designs was God weaving through their trials? What monumental plans lay just beyond the horizon they could not yet see? Thus, as the people prepared to take the next step into the unknown, they could not fathom the divine orchestration that would unfold the path of their redemption lay intertwined with the unfolding saga of creation itself, beckoning them toward an uncharted glory. And it came to pass that as the first rays of sunrise bathed the camp in golden light, the people of Israel stood in unity, their hearts trembling with expectant faith. Moses raised his staff, which glimmered as the sunlight struck its surface, and proclaimed, "Prepare yourselves, for the Lord will show his might today. This very hour, the waters before us shall part like the heavens above." At once, a great hush fell upon the multitude, and a deep reverence settled over them, for they sensed that the very breath of God was upon the brink of their deliverance. The waters of the Red Sea loomed vast and foreboding, yet the words of faith echoed in their spirits. Remember the wonders he has done. Remember the promises that he has spoken. Then, in a moment that seemed to suspend time itself, the winds began to howl, and the ocean stirred violently. The heavens, painted with the hues of dawn, bore witness to the impending miracle. Moses, guided by the Spirit of the Lord, extended his hand over the waters, and the earth trembled beneath the weight of the divine decree. As he cried out, "O sea, be divided." A magnificent sound roared forth, like a great symphony of creation answering the command of its maker. The waves surged backward and parted, revealing a dry path through the depths. The heart of the sea became a highway for the children of Israel. From the sea came the sound of the Lord's voice, saying, "Fear not, my people. I have delivered you from the hand of Pharaoh. For it is I who make a way where there seems to be none, and you shall go forth unharmed." With joy overtaking their fear, the Israelites began to step forward, families holding hands, old and young, all marching as one nation under God's direction. Their feet touched the dry ground, and as they passed through the expanse of the sea, a wall of waters rose majestically to their right and left a testament to divine power. The heart of Moses swelled with gratitude as he beheld the unfolding wonder. He lifted his voice in worship, proclaiming, "The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will glorify him, my Father's God, and I will exalt him." Yet, scattered amongst them were murmurs of concern. Some saw the lingering dust clouds of Pharaoh as chariots in the distance. "What if they pursue us? What then?" they questioned. But Caleb and Joshua stepped forth and declared with fervent resolve, "The Lord will fight for us. Only be still and watch his might." And just as they reached the other side, the clouds darkened momentarily, and a frantic rush filled the hearts of their pursuers. The Lord, in great fury, looked upon the Egyptians with disdain, and he commanded darkness to envelop them, causing confusion and fear to settle like a thick fog upon their camp. The sea roared back to its former glory, crashing down upon the chariots that chased after God's chosen ones. And as the very water swallowed them, a cry rang out through the heavens, the cry of freedom received, a divine orchestration of liberation manifesting before their eyes. There, upon the shore where the waters had returned to their place, sang the people a song of rejoicing, a hymn of praise that would echo through the annals of time. They danced in circles, lifted hands, and celebrated the mighty hand of God, for they had witnessed his power. But even amid this great victory, the Lord whispered mysteries in the hearts of his people. The unfolding of his plan reached far beyond their immediate deliverance, entwining their destinies with the very fabric of salvation for nations yet to come. And so, in the distance, the promise loomed, an uncharted land flowing with milk and honey. They could not know yet what giants lay ahead, nor the trials that would test them. Yet with each step forward, a new chapter awaited, and the echoes of their faith would resonate into generations to come. For the time had not yet come to fully unveil the tapestry of God's purposes. Many lessons would weave through the wilderness, and as they looked upon the horizon, an amazing revelation lingered. Within the struggle and the journey lay the essence of his divine plan, greater than they could ever comprehend. And it came to pass that the people of Israel, gathered by the banks of the sea, beheld the mighty works of the Lord. Their hearts consumed with joy and awe, they lifted their voices in unison, singing a new song unto the Lord. Miriam, the prophetess, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women joined her in dance, proclaiming, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea." As the echoes of their praise resounded, the Spirit of the Lord filled the camp, and their celebration mingled with sobering reflections. In their joy, they recalled the bitterness of captivity and the years spent under the yoke of oppression. The memories of their forefathers' cries reached out from the past, and they remembered that the God who delivered them was also the God who had heard their cries. Then Moses turned to the people and said, "Remember this day in which you went out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from this place. No leavened bread shall be eaten. This day in the month of Abib you are going out." He warned them that the Lord would establish a service to commemorate their deliverance, saying, "When your children ask, 'What does this mean to you?' you shall say, 'By strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.'" The people nodded in understanding, for they knew that God desired not just their liberation but their remembrance of his mighty deeds. Yet, in the very midst of their rejoicing, uncertainty emerged, a yearning for the provision and safety that lay beyond the desert. Days passed in the wilderness, and the road stretched ahead, barren yet filled with promise. The sun beat down upon them, and hunger began to lift its voice among the multitude. They began to speak against Moses and Aaron, saying, "Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children with hunger? Would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in Egypt, when we sat by pots of meat and ate bread to the full." But the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my law or not." Thus it came to pass that in the morning dew lay the miraculous manna, white like coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And the people marveled, giving thanks and gathering what they needed, mindful of the Lord's provision. Moses instructed them, "This is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. Gather it, each one, that they may know I am the Lord their God." Yet amidst their gathering, they struggled with the command. Some took more than was needed, and others less, but when they measured it by omer, it was perfectly sufficient. The lesson began to take root in their hearts. The provision of the Lord was enough for them, speaking to their dependence on his faithfulness. And as they journeyed on, they encountered adversaries in the wilderness. The Amalekites came and fought against Israel at Rephidim. Moses, standing firm, instructed Joshua, "Choose us some men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand." As Joshua fought, Moses raised his hands in prayer, and whenever he held his hands high, Israel prevailed. But when his hands grew weary, Amalek prevailed. Then Aaron and Hur took a stone and placed it under him, and held his hands steady until the going down of the sun. And the victory was theirs that day. Thus the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Write this for a memorial in the book and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. In all these things, their journey revealed the heart of the Almighty, teaching them dependence, provision, and faithfulness. Each trial woven into the narrative of their liberation would serve as a testament for generations to come, as the Lord unfolded his great and infinite plans, for the path ahead would carry them deeper into the wonders of his covenant, where new revelations awaited a land of promise and trials beyond their understanding. With every step, the mystery of his purpose grew richer, and they tasted the sweetness of faith intertwined with his sovereign design. And it came to pass, after the victory over Amalek, that the people continued their journey through the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departure from the land of Egypt. The thirst among the people grew insistent, and they murmured against Moses and Aaron, saying, "Give us water, that we may drink." And Moses said to them, "Why do you contend with me? Why do you tempt the Lord?" But the people thirsted there for water, and their souls became exceedingly thirsty, crying out, "Why did you bring us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go on before the people, and take with you some of the elders of Israel. Also take in your hand your rod with which you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink." So Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and he struck the rock, and water gushed forth abundantly, and the people drank and were refreshed at in that place. Moses called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the contention of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" And the waters flowed as a testimony to the faithfulness of the Lord, who was ever present in their needs. Yet murmuring was a seed that sprang quickly among the children of Israel, and as they rested in the wilderness, they were soon drawn into the struggles of doubt and fear. They found themselves in confrontation with the nations around them. The Midianites, with their cunning ways, sought to lead them astray, exposing the hearts of the people to temptation. Moses, filled with the command of the Lord, called the people together. "The Lord your God has commanded you to be holy, for I am holy," he proclaimed. "Separate yourselves from the nations around you, walk in his ways, and do what is right in his sight." Yet many murmured, turning their faces toward the past, longing for the comforts of Egypt, blinded by the fleeting pleasures of worldly desires as time passed. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, "Gather the people to me, that I may let them hear my words, so that they may learn to fear me all the days they live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children." And in the chilling silence of the mountain, the voice of God thundered like many waters, declaring his covenant, and giving the commandments that would guide his people. When the people witnessed the thundering and the lightning, the mountain smoking, they trembled and stood afar off. And they said to Moses, "You speak with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die." And Moses said to the people, "Do not fear, for God has come to test you, and that his fear may be before you, so that you may not sin." Thus, the children of Israel were called to holiness and obedience, a people set apart. They were to be a light unto the nations, reflecting the glory of their God through their conduct and devotion. But within their hearts lingered the haunting echoes of doubt, a reminder of their struggles and trust, and the journey of transformation yet to come. As they stood in anticipation, the Lord prepared to reveal more wonders, for there was a promise in the unknown, and his sovereign plans were unfolding beyond their understanding, a promise that would lead them through trials to victory and peace. What awaited them in the fullness of his promise was a mystery yet to be revealed, beckoning them to draw closer in faith. And it came to pass, after the voice of the Lord had spoken judgment and law, that the children of Israel continued in the wilderness, and their hearts remained restless. In the depths of their spirits echoed the call to holiness, and yet they found themselves ensnared by the weight of their shortcomings. The nights were long, and the days were filled with uncertainty, for they were wanderers in a land unfamiliar. As the camp settled, and the sun set upon the high mountains, the people gathered around the tent of meeting. They spoke among themselves, exchanging stories of deliverance, recounting how the Lord had brought them out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand. Yet in their discussions, The bitterness of their hearts resurfaced. Who shall go before us? They lamented. Will he provide for us here in this desolate place? Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Gather the leaders of the tribes, and let them come before me, that I may instruct them. For their hearts are heavy, and their minds are clouded with doubt. Thus Moses gathered the leaders, and they stood in the presence of the Almighty. The aura of the divine emanated from the tent, and the air was thick with anticipation to that moment. The Lord said, Tell them, if you will heed my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all peoples. The leaders fell upon their faces, for the greatness of the Lord was revealed in their midst. And God continued, You will be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The words resonated deeply within the hearts of those who heard, igniting a flicker of hope amongst their despair. Moses returned to the people, his face radiant, and proclaimed the words of the Lord. He has called you forth. He declared, Do not be afraid, for the Lord delights in you. Lift your eyes and trust in his promises, for he shall provide. Faith began to stir among the congregation, yet the old doubts lingered, casting shadows even upon the glimmer of hope. The days passed, and soon after, their faith was tested in battle. The Amalekites gathered against Israel, seeking to strike them down amidst their weariness. And the Lord spoke to Moses again, saying, Go and fight against them, for I shall deliver them into your hand. In obedience, Moses called forth Joshua, saying, Choose for us men of valor, and go out to wage war against these men of Amalek. As they marched into the battle, Moses ascended the hill with the rod of God in his hand. He stood firm upon the mountainside, and as long as he held up his hands, Israel prevailed. But when he lowered them, Amalek would defeat them. Aaron and Hur, seeing the struggle, came to his side, and they held up his weary arms, supporting him through the heat of the day. So it came to pass that the sun began to set, and Israel's victory was complete. Then the Lord said to Moses, Write this as a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. So Moses built an altar there, and called the name of it The Lord is my banner. It was in this moment that the people began to grasp the significance of God's deliverance, and they shouted a great shout, proclaiming the victory. Yet in the hearts of many lingered the question, What does the Lord require of us? In the silence following the victory, the answer remained hidden, waiting to be unveiled in the fullness of his sovereign plan. For the Lord was preparing them for a journey not yet understood, a call to a covenant deeply rooted in faith and trust, beckoning them deeper into his mysteries, where hearts would be transformed and destinies eternally altered. And it came to pass, after the victory over Amalek, that the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin, encamping in Rephidim. And the people grew weary once more, their souls longing for sustenance. They approached Moses with lamentation, saying, Give us water that we may drink. Moses, burdened by their complaints, turned to the Lord, crying out, What shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Go on before the people, and take with you some of the elders of Israel. Behold, I will stand before you on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall flow forth for the people to drink. So Moses did as the Lord commanded, striking the rock, and water gushed out abundantly. The people drank, and their thirst was quenched, and they called the place Massah and Meribah, for they had tested the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not? Exodus 17 verses 1-7. Thus they continued their journey, and the Lord guided them with a cloud by day and a fire by night. As Moses ascended the mountain to commune with God, he was given tablets of stone inscribed with the covenant instructions. When he descended, his face shone radiantly, for he had been in the presence of the Almighty. Yet the hearts of the people grew restless in Moses' absence. They gathered together and said to Aaron, Make us gods to go before us, for as for this Moses, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron, succumbing to their desires, fashioned a golden calf from their earrings, proclaiming, These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt. Exodus 32 verses 1-4. The Lord spoke to Moses, revealing the rebellion of the people. Go down, for your people whom you brought out of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly from the way I commanded them. Anger burned in the Lord's heart, and he said, Let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them. But Moses interceded, pleading for the people, recalling the covenant made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Moses descended the mountain, carrying the tablets of stone. When he saw the idol and the dancing people, his anger burned within him, and he shattered the tablets at the foot of the mountain. He confronted Aaron, saying, What did this people do to you that you have brought such a great sin upon them? Aaron's voice trembled as he spoke. The people are set on evil. They said to me, Make us gods, and I cast the gold into the fire, and out came this calf. Moses stood in the gate of the camp and called out, Who is on the Lord's side? Come to me. The sons of Levi gathered around him, and he commanded them to go in and out among the people, slaying those who had worshipped the calf. 3,000 men fell that day, and the Lord had established a filter of holiness within his people. Exodus 32 verses 25 to 28. Afterward, Moses returned to the Lord, saying, Oh, what a great sin these people have committed. Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, forgive them, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book which you have written. The Lord replied to Moses, Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book. Exodus 32 verses 30 to 33. In the aftermath, the Lord spoke again to Moses, saying, I will send an angel before you to drive out the Canaanite, Amorite, Hittite, Perizzite, Hivite, and Jebusite. But the people were instructed to be set apart, to rid themselves of the leaven of idolatry as the true essence of holiness began to take root within them. The burden of their past would not be their end. Rather, it was a new beginning, for the Lord was weaving a covenant not merely in stone, but in their hearts. For within the depths of pain, he was revealing a greater purpose, a destination of promise yet unfulfilled, leading to a great revelation of his steadfast love and sovereign grace. And so it was that the children of Israel found themselves renewed in spirit, standing upon the brink of their inheritance. As Moses gazed upon the vast landscape of Canaan, the weight of their history pressed upon him, yet deep within his heart, the fervor of faith ignited like a consuming fire. The trials that had once threatened to entangle them were now behind them, transformed into testimonies of God's unwavering love. Thus, Moses called all the tribes together, lifting his hands high and declaring, Come forth, O children of Israel. Let us never forget the Lord's faithfulness. The promise he made long ago to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is unfolding before our very eyes. Step boldly into the land that God has prepared for us. The air was electric with reverence, and the people leaned in, not with whispers of doubt, but with eager expectation in their hearts. Anger had given way to affection, and fear was replaced by faith as they recalled the wonders they had witnessed, the parting of the Red Sea, the sweet manna from heaven, and the quenching of thirst from the rock. Aaron, emboldened by the Spirit of the Lord, echoed, Yes, we are a people chosen by God. Let us not hesitate, but rise with courage and claim the land flowing with milk and honey. And this time, as silence broke into an eruption of enthusiasm, they shouted together in response, We will go. We will trust in the Lord. With every step they took, the shadows of their past fell behind them, and the sun shone bright upon their path. As they approached the Jordan River, the waters shimmered like a mirror reflecting their renewed purpose. God instructed Joshua, This day I will exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that I am with you as I was with Moses. At the command of the Lord, Joshua spoke to the priests, saying, Take up the ark of the covenant and lead the people across the waters. The priests stepped into the rushing river, their feet scarcely touching the water before it parted, mirroring the former miracle as the waters were held back by the almighty hand of God. The people crossed over on dry ground, hearts swelling with triumph, for they witnessed his power anew. With each step, they proclaimed, The Lord has done great things for us. And so the Israelites took possession of the land. They fought the giants that once struck fear into their hearts, emboldened by their witness of divine power. With every battle they faced, they remembered the lessons of faith, dependence, and obedience learned in the wilderness, the very lessons that had fortified their souls. Caleb and Joshua stood as steadfast pillars of belief amidst the crowd, urging their brethren, "Trust in the Lord's promise. He has gone before us, and the victory is already won." They led the charge, and as the fortified walls of Jericho fell at the sound of jubilant praise and the blare of trumpets, the people could hardly contain their joy. It was a physical manifestation of a spiritual victory. God had fulfilled his promise. The land was not merely a change of scenery, but a testament to the transformation within their hearts. In the struggle, they had learned to trust like never before, to cling to hope, to intercede for one another, to celebrate each triumph, and to gather strength from their collective faith. As days turned into years, they became a nation revered and respected, bearing witness to the goodness of God across the lands. Moses, nearing the end of his days, stood upon a mountain overlooking Canaan, his eyes brimming with tears yet of joy, knowing that the story of his people was woven into the grand tapestry of God's plan. He declared to them one last time, "Choose life. Love the Lord your God, for he is mighty, and his mercies endure forever." With that, he closed his eyes and rested not in defeat, but in the triumph of faith fulfilled that in generations to come, as storytellers rose to recount the Exodus, the journey, and the miraculous transformation from slavery to sovereignty, many would gather to remember. They would recount the lessons imbued in the hearts of God's people, of those who dared to rise, those who believed, and those who discovered the sweeping grace of a loving God willing to lead them home. As the dawn of each new day broke, a prayer lingered in the air, a solemn vow of remembrance. "For thus says the Lord, I will be your God, and you shall be my people." This promise, fulfilled, reverberated through time, a beacon for all who would come to know the faithfulness of their Creator and the power of a people transformed. And now, beloved friends, as the echoes of this powerful testimony resound within your hearts, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and not miss future divine stories that can change your life. Leave a like now and help spread God's Word through the algorithm. Comment below your reflections and share how this biblical story has impacted your faith journey. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Together, let us pass on the light of his promises and witness his unending grace.